Hello, all, and welcome to this new kind of audio approach that we're doing to actually a newer process or a new product of our whole series. This is kind of a new thing we're doing where we're splitting them up into three different kind of sections, just exploring older Chicago, present and future Chicago organizations, and of course the different processes and different more abstract things going on in the city of Chicago. But this, we're fortunate to say, is the inaugural episode of A Little Theater, which is discussing the recently closed Green Line L Cycle series. We just closed on Instagram, I think probably just about a week ago now. I am joined by two of the playwrights and also happenstance former producers. I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. If you want to start us off, Jared, but joining us from the Green Line.
Hello, hello. Hi, this is Jared Goudsmit. Pronouns he, him. I am the literature director of No Dogs in the Kitchen Theater Company, and I've had the pleasure of working on a bunch of different projects with microChicago, including the Green Line series, of course, and also the Red Line, the Brown Line. I'm one of the writers this year. I'm just having a ton of fun working with microChicago. And I'm from St. Louis originally, and I've been living in Chicago for 3+ years now, and love the theater scene up here and having a great time.
Heck yeah. And how about yourself, Jay?
I'm Jay Rohr. I'm a Chicagoland native, born and raised. I've lived in and around the city my whole life. I've had the pleasure of working with Micro myself a couple of times, and especially in the past, I got introduced to this whole project doing the Yellow Line, and that was a lot of fun. So when I got the opportunity to come back and work on the Green Line, that was sort of like didn't have to think about it. As far as myself, I'm kind of a freelance writer. I do a lot of different things. I write fiction, nonfiction, whatever people are willing to pay me for the most part. And I also do some film criticism currently. I'm a member of the Chicago Indie Critics, and you can find my movie reviews at Film Obsessive. And that's pretty much the main thing that's been eating up most of my time is seeing what's on the big screen.
Heck yeah. It feels like and I don't know if it's me overthinking the Odyssey, but it definitely feels like we're moving in some interesting direction. Heck, you could even like I'd say Sinners, I don't know, what's that movie to you that you feel like is, oh yeah, theater's changing.
That's a tricky call.
Gosh. Well, I appreciate both of you taking a little bit of time here to just chat a little bit about the Green Line and your experience with that. As you both have kind of mentioned, Jay, you're a previous co-producer on our second series, the Yellow Line. Jared, you were awesome in helping kind of bring No Dogs in on, I believe, is the Brown Line that you helped alongside
Yes, indeed.
Short Leave.
Yeah.
And then, of course, are one of our resident ensemble members this year, for which we are very, very excited to have you. What was it kind of like coming back to, because you've also written for those different lines, what was it like coming back to the process, having written and produced for it? You kind of had some different duties with the co-producer aspect, right? Bringing in the folks that you knew to write for those lines. But what was it like coming to the Green Line, with your experiences? I know living or, having frequent in that area and those different, lines on the lake side or Lake Street elevated and the south side. Tell us just a little bit about that, coming back with Industrial Gardens and then also as a member of microChicago.
It was working on the Green Line was a ton of fun, and it took me back a little bit because I live nowhere near the Green Line these days. I live more by Red and the Brown. But when I first moved, I lived in River West with Grace Patterson. Shout out Grace. And we the Green Line was not too far away at all, and I have some great memories. In fact, I remember going on a date with Grace to the wonderful conservatory, and that is such an incredible Chicago institution. So that is why I was so thrilled to get the Conservatory Central Park stop as one of the scripts that I wrote for the Green Line series. And I also have just wonderful memories of uh, when I was looking for work when I first moved. I was trying to get work in the food service industry. Did not work out for me because I did not have any prior experience, but I now have a job that I absolutely love, so it all works out well. But I have a lot of memories of going up and down the Green Line, or rather east west on the Green Line, to try and get a nice food service job, and taking 20 copies of my resume printed out so that I could hassle all of those people in person.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You have to at least done it once in your life, just going down the street from store to store.
Absolutely. It's formative.
And how about yourself, Jay?
Well, as for me, my initial excitement at being brought back in by Industrial Gardens was the fact that I got a little spooked because I started to realize like I don't have a tremendous amount of personal experience with the Green Line. And then on top of that, I was like, what am I going to write about this time? Because I don't want to write the same kind of story that I wrote previously. I didn't want to just repeat myself. So for me, this was actually turned into a very exciting opportunity to do a lot of research about like the history of the area and the stops, especially because there's been a lot of renovation the last couple of years, and so there's been a lot of attention about them, which has led to an abundance of information being available, especially if you have the means and you want to take the time to look into stuff. And fortunately, I have a degree in history, so doing research on people and places is a pretty it's in my wheelhouse. So I
Yeah.
got to look up a lot of interesting things about the different stops that I was going to be working on in order to get a perspective on the area and what the purpose of these stops would be for. Um, and in that regard, I was like trying not to use my own personal experiences with the Green Line because some of them were kind of like not great.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to write anything that would like negatively reflect on the situation because most of the time that I've had a bad experience on the L, it's come down to two things. Either a mechanical failure, and that's the blue line. Like you will never get me back on the blue line. Um, I got stuck on there one time for 2 hours because of some kind of mechanical failure. I actually fell asleep, and when I woke up, we were still where we'd been.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
and then the green line, it wasn't any fault of the line itself. That was a whole MapQuest situation. If anybody remembers MapQuest back in the day,
Oh yeah.
uh, one of the original direction giving websites. It gave me the absolute wrong directions, and I ended up in a rather tough neighborhood in Chicago by myself, and that's a whole story in and of itself.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true though that the one thing that's really interesting about the L cycle that since we're just closing our fifth part, right, is that you have people who are coming to either writing or to Chicago in different ways, and it's like the so getting to learn about the different areas of the city as well, that these are kind of the veins or the ways towards, and the green line being that one line that really goes west and south. um I think, as opposed to just the red line going straight. Just the diversity of the different areas that these lines hit is fascinating. You'll have to, if you ever feel comfortable, Jay, tell me some of those green line stories because I'm sure they are just fascinating.
They are, and it's interesting to bring that up. about the diversity of the lines, because when I was talking with the other writers involved, when we were trying to get a perspective on this, that was the main thing for them in particular, that like you could see the light bulb moment for them as they finally understood the project, like what they could contribute to it, because everybody keeps trying to figure out how do you write about the L, and they forget that the L is populated by people. And
Mhm.
so once they realize, like, oh, I could talk about the people from the neighborhood, and they like maybe you're more familiar with the neighborhood that the particular stop is in, then people started to understand what they could say and have some authenticity when they were writing about it.
Yeah. How was that for you guys on that side with industrial gardens? Because I think you guys kind of explored a couple different avenues.
Oh,
For
I'm gonna think on
for
that
Jay,
question for a second.
for the
Oh,
industrial garden.
For Jay, sorry, for the industrial garden stop. Apologies.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we tried to we tried to arrange an opportunity for everybody to like get on the L and actually just ride it around for a day, just pinball back and forth between the stops and see what it is and see what it's like. But anybody who's ever tried to wrangle cats knows what it's like trying to organize an outing with a bunch of artists and creatives. So because everybody's got something going on, either you got your legitimate job, or you got a creative project that you got to get in on, or maybe like somebody who will remain nameless because it might be me. You might have spent the night out with your friends getting drunk as a poet on payday, and then suddenly you can't make the arranged get together. So we were having some trouble getting folks to actually ride the L itself and actually experience it. But then Christine Marie, because she's fabulous, figured out that why don't we all just get together on a Zoom? Everybody can talk about their personal experiences with it, so that anybody who is unfamiliar can start to get an idea, and we can talk and we can figure things out. And so we were all able to eventually get together for a Zoom conversation that settled a lot of people's concerns about figuring out how they were going to approach this project.
Yeah, that's really awesome to hear. Yeah, yeah, I'm always fascinated about how different groups operate and work, and I think, yeah, like what industrial gardens does, even with like the micro diagnostics kind of thing, which I think is a previous thing that we were both on as well, was just like
Hmm.
reading and discussing a micro play, and it's just like the different perspectives again that come to the one unifying thing, which in this case happens to be the green line. Um, how about you, Jared? What was it like for you? Again, you kind of had some like personal experience to draw on, but were there any other kind of discoveries or ways that you came to the green line this time?
Yeah, I think it was. I think I had a ton of fun writing for Clinton because it was one of the first times that I had. It was one of the first times that I had signed up for one with very little personal experience to draw off of. Like I remember the Orange Line stop I wrote for was a stop that I would use to get to and from the Midway Airport. Like I
Hmm.
would like my southbound bus would land at that Orange Line stop. So the it was fun to write for the Green Line's Clinton stop on account of I maybe had stopped at it before, but I didn't have the personal connection. So I had to go in and do my research, and I ended up writing a story about two tourists who were very animated and very wacky and sort of over the top, Chicago tourists, but still gave them some heart. I don't know. It was fun because I think I've taken it very seriously
Hmm.
with previous lines, and there's some value to that. But there was also something really fun about just letting go and I mean, it was rooted in something in that you're right by the core of the city, so you are more likely to see tourists there. But I don't know. I felt like I was more building a world rather than capturing a world that already existed, which was fun and allowed me to let loose a little, which was a fun change of pace.
Yeah, it's that like it's so specific that you can kind of let it to the wind.
Yeah, exactly. And there's still some roots in terms of, shops and the river walk and what's nearby, what's around. But
Yeah,
yeah, but the characters were very invented. I've had similarly, writing the quarterlies has been a similarly just invent something fun, something you'd want to read, which has been a really liberating process.
yeah. Kind of on that, like is there kind of a like a way that you start either of you or well both of you? What is there a way that you sit down and start writing, or is there a way that you generate kind of the ideas? Like is there a light bulb that kind of gets you going? What are some ways that kind of inspire you to get started on a specific script?
I love to write the dialogue in my notes app on my computer. This has always been my method since I was young. I don't know why. I think the idea of writing it pencil to paper or the idea of writing it into Word or Pages, something about that process feels so formal to me. So I end up typing in my laptop's notes app and I just type out the dialogue and I don't write in character names and I don't write in stage directions. I just write in a rough first, a messy first draft of dialogue, and it sort of takes the pressure off. And that's always been my process. Um, Everything comes a lot easier when I. Something about the Notes app font is so unserious that
Oh yeah.
that I don't have to worry about the quality of what I'm writing. I just have to worry about getting it on the page.
That's why I think, now that you mention it, Comic Sans gets a bad rap. Maybe it's just a calming
Real.
looking, I was
So
definitely
true.
converted me.
I mean, I myself am not trying to be a Comic Sans defender. No, I'm just messing. I'm just messing. No, I've heard that it gets a bad rap. I've heard that it is a very helpful font for a lot of purposes, not just overworked elementary school teachers.
Yeah. Is there, this is, Jay, you need to answer both of these as well. But is there a specific font that you write in?
Oh, I always change it to Times New Roman at the end, but it's always default Notes app, so that I don't
Yeah.
have to worry too much.
Yeah. How about you, Jay? What's your go-to font, and then what's your kind of inspiration or opening?
Well, my go-to font has changed a little bit over the years. It used to be Courier New, and that was mainly just because of the fact that that was standard manuscript format. So if you were sending in articles or fiction to a magazine, that's what it had to be to begin
Ah,
with. So that was always my sort of like working font. And now they switched it. Like the default one for Microsoft Word is I think it's called like Apatos or something like that. And I don't know. It's just a much more soothing thing than Courier because it's a lot less jagged. Courier looks like typewritten font,
yeah.
like it
Yeah.
came off of a typewriter. So there was something about that. But I too got to switch it back to Times New Roman at some point because that's the new manuscript format. So no matter
Ah,
what I write, I eventually it ends up Times New Roman no matter what I do.
yeah.
Um, but that said, yeah, I also agree with like the whole notes. I've gotten very used to doing a similar thing on my phone, where
Oh,
like I'll get a pocket of dialogue or something like that. That's when I know I can start running. When I have some exchange between two people that's either comical or like informative. If it feels like the kind of exchange between two people that is gonna draw people in and make them want to keep listening, that's when I know I have something to start with, or something to reach. Because there have been a couple occasions where I had like the conclusion to an exchange between people, but I didn't have the beginning. So I had to
Mm,
figure out how do I get there as opposed to how do I step off from here. Although
Really?
Now that I say that out loud, there have been a couple of occasions where I realized the story was actually starting at the end of that exchange. So, I mean, you got to be open to that possibility. But I guess what I'm saying is I do the same thing. I kind of look at it like as this like stray thought that I run into. Well, and usually it happens when I'm doing research or when I'm very involved in some other project that I can't step away from. And you have that panic moment of like, that's a perfect sentence for what I'm working on. And you got to write it down someplace else because you're not going to have it 2 hours later when you're done with something else. Like I have horror stories as a writer about like being on job sites, working on refurbishing a warehouse and like putting up drywall and like repeating the same 3 lines of dialogue in my head constantly in order before until I have a chance to actually get to my phone and put them down on something for
Yeah,
fear that I'm going to lose it.
yeah.
So
And it's like,
real.
oh no, is this the right word that I was thinking about? Because it changes everything.
And there's also a hilarious like side element where it's like I go back to look at it and I'm like, is that really when? And you realize like autocorrect has completely changed what you were trying to write. You just put it down in a hurry, and 9 times out of ten, it's not helpful. But every so often, there's that one instance where it changes a word, and you're just like, yeah, actually, this would be more interesting.
Genius.
This is the
That's so
answer.
real.
Well, yeah, kind of speaking to that, have there been any interesting I guess discoveries in writing the handful of scripts that you've each written for the Green Line? And also slight deviation, just uh any things that you particularly look forward to on the train, when you're on the train, or things that you maybe don't look forward to when you get on the train.
Mm.
I know for me, my big gripe is the Addison red line in the summer becomes a nightmare because it's baseball season and it's just Cubs everywhere.
Yeah, that's real.
um, But one of the interesting things, that when we talk about, when we get to the microbytes, if we have that question, we'll ask, what is your favorite line to ride? And more common than not, we get the brown line, and it's just the views, man. It's just something about
Mm.
the way it kind of just the specific way it sneaks and snakes through the city. You just see so many different things.
True, very true. Hmm. I like the brown line. I like that it's nearby. I like the convenience of it. I associate the brown line with so many lovely things because when we do weekly play readings with the No Dogs folks on
Hmm.
together, half the time it's over at my friend's house who also lives off the brown line, and we all take the line up as a group and we take the line down as a group, and so there's a lot of community that I associate with the brown line
Mm.
as a result. But the blue line will always have a special place in my heart because that was my go-to line when I first moved here. When I lived in River West, I lived right off of the Chicago Blue Line stop,
Oh yeah.
and I right by the Gangnam Market, and I will always have positive memories of walking up to Wicker Park and catching a show at the Den.
That's a lovely stretch. Yeah, of Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's a
truly.
grand old time.
And then Jay, are you still you're kind of yellow, right?
Yeah, I'm within walking distance of the yellow line, and but if I had to pick though, I mean, I for similar reasons, I am very inclined to the red line because most of my like memories of the city involve taking the red line
Yeah.
everywhere. Um, and that a lot of that just has to do with the fact that it's one of the ones that runs latest.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm.
and then, yeah, I mean, but I get why people like the brown line. I think the other thing about the red is that for me, it's always like it always felt like the quickest, because I'm just kind of like twitchy like that. I'm like I want to get where I'm going,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think anybody has ever felt like they were speeding somewhere on public transportation. But the red line always gave me that sense of like quickness that made me feel like at least we're making progress. We're headed towards where we need to be. Um, I don't know. I'm one of those people that loses their mind when they get stuck in traffic. So, like, I just, as long as we're going somewhere, as long as we're going forward. But the other thing is, like, I just have had so many experiences on the red line that have been just interesting across the board that it sticks in my head. And a lot of that just has to do with that's where I was living most of the time. I was always adjacent to it. And somehow that just always ended up being my main L train.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that has kind of been the primary one. The only other one I've lived off of mostly the like the Loyola, like the Edgewater, and then like the Uptown Red Line. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I guess the ones that I frequent most are probably to get to work if I'm running late, like the purple or the brown or clutch, but like the blue or the yeah, the brown. Yeah. I definitely need to ride the different lines a lot more.
I think part of it for me too is the fact that the red line is one of the few. I mean, there's a couple of lines that do this, but the red is one of those few ones that changes because, it's above ground for a stretch, then it's a subway, so like there's this alteration in it and the quality and the feel of it. I don't know. I've always kind of been like a subway person.
Yeah.
And I don't, that might stem from a lot of different things, but there's something about that, like, the creepiness of subways. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Subways are they're a little weird. And that there's just something about that. There's that plunge as you're leaving sort of like the Lincoln Park area, and you just sort of slip underground, and it's a transition into a whole other world. And it's just kind of a
Yeah.
reminder, not to sound like pretentious or anything, but it's a reminder of just how layered the city is. And you can
Yeah.
get that in a lot of different locations too. I mean, like there's Whacker Drive, there's Lower Whacker Drive. I mean, and they're completely different environments. And that's
Yeah.
just something about cities that fascinates me in general.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so true. Um, gosh. Yeah, now you got me thinking about I'm just imagining because that's when you're going to North and Clybourne, right? The dip from Fullerton to
Hmm.
Clybourne. Yeah. It's just making me think of Batman for some reason. Um, but I think that's a lovely segue now to one of our kind of staples of these chats that we do, which is our microbites. This is just sort of our rapid fire lightning round series of questions. We've got about 8 or so here. If there's a story, like we love to hear it, and then also just what for some of these is like what's the first thing that comes to mind. So this first one, we'll start off with Jay, and then we'll go to Jared, and then we'll flip flop it that way. We'll kind of just ladder it. So Jay, Jared, Jared, Jay for each of these questions. Sound
Amazing.
good?
Sounds good.
Um,
Okay.
I'm also realizing I was like, hey, right off the bat, what's your first impulse? But also tell us a story. So do whatever. But our very first question, starting us off, are you a thin or stuffed pizza? And what's your go-to spot?
That all depends on mood. Because if I just want a pizza, then I'm gonna get a La Rosa or what is it, Jimmy's Pizza Cafe out over on I can't remember where it is because they moved locations.
Yeah.
That for thin, yeah, I'll go with like there's a place out here in the suburbs called La Rosa, and then there's a place called Jimmy's Pizza Cafe in the city that is fantastic.
Mm,
But I'm also a big nano stuffed guy when I am like depressed because
yeah,
that's just great comfort food when you just want to like vegetate on the couch.
truly. How about you, Jared?
Thin for me. I was raised in St. Louis originally, so thin pizza has a special place in my heart. Specifically in Chicago, Go To Pizza. Again, good old Milwaukee. Um, Kung Fu Pizza. Kung Fu Pizza, which is right by the Blue Line Division stop. It is fantastic. I didn't know it existed for a full year living in that area. And I saw it on Google Maps randomly and I said, "What? There's no restaurant there. That place is an abandoned building." But you have to walk in front of this building. It's a window that is completely covered in empty ramen packets.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about. The
directly
best.
across from Chopin and that Popeyes.
Yes, that's exactly right. In the big
Where?
messy triangle intersection.
Yeah,
And you knock really, really, really loud on the window, and a very grumpy man who I love dearly will open it up and be like, "What do you want?" And you can get two solid, hot slices of thin crust pizza, pepperoni or cheese. Those are the only options. And it's two slices for $5 plus a fortune cookie. I don't know why it's kung fu themed. There's no reason for it to be kung fu themed.
no,
But
but
he
it,
has like little Kill Bill decor in this building that you cannot enter. You can only peer through the window.
he's like a rat hole. You remember the rat hole?
Rat hole?
The rat hole phenomenon. It
Oh,
was
like the rat in the pavement. Yes.
yeah.
In the
He's
in
like
the
he's like that, but in
yes.
Logan Square.
Truly, he's in his little hole and he's a man of the city.
Yeah,
What
it
a
just
hero.
just a little gem. Jared, what is your go-to hot dog spot if you have one?
Oh, go to hot dog spot. To be so honest with you, I don't know that I do have a I don't really eat hot dogs like that. But you
I don't
know,
I don't really eat hot dogs like that.
but you
Oh well,
know, I have to give a shout out to Red Hot Ranch because I love
there
Red
you
Hot Ranch. I usually get the burger, but I've heard the hot dog is fantastic.
yeah. Is that the one on Ashland?
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a Chicago staple all over the place.
Well, do
Yeah.
you do you hot dog, Jay?
Yeah, I mine would have to be Super Dog because that is sort of like a Chicago tourist trap.
Uh, where's that at?
It's on Milwaukee. Again, it's a suburb type thing. It's not going to be in the city. Most of the places I would go in the city have closed down over the years. Like
Oh
Demon
yeah.
Dogs used to be on Fullerton. Excuse me. Yeah, on Fullerton. They
Yeah.
closed that during the renovation because they had to tear it down to fix up the L stop. It was right underneath the L.
Yeah.
And then there was a place over by Lane Tech that's name escapes me, but they used to have not just like hot dogs, but like a variety of different kinds of sausage. Like it was the only place you could get a duck-filled hot dog in the
Oh my.
city.
Whoa, that
Um,
sounds great.
but they went out of business. It's like the downside to being 44 is the fact that all the bars and restaurants that you grew up with and thought were incredible are all gone.
Yeah.
After a certain point in time, they all just like everybody gets old, and they retire and they sell it to somebody else who either runs it into the ground or they think, hey, this place has been here for 20 years. You know what would be a great idea? A completely different business.
Ah. Entropy. It truly is unstoppable.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. Well, on that note, do you have a favorite spot off the L? Or is
Oh,
there what's your usual stop that you frequent? Either or.
well, hold on. I got to think about that for a second. Jared wants to chime in and give my old brain an opportunity to turn the
Oh
gears for a
no.
second.
Yeah.
Favorite. Wait, when you say favorite spot off the L, do you mean like a restaurant? Do you mean like
Yeah, either or. If there's a particular
um
stop that you like for a reason, and that
oh,
can
real.
include uh going to a place.
Real. Oh, that question's going to take me a minute as well. I'm like, let me think. There
Yeah.
are just so
I know.
many of them.
Yeah. Well, like for me, one of the things I really love to do, which I don't know, I'm always fat. Jared, you'll have to tell me because we both
Mhm.
frequent the inn a lot. But I always tell people I get off at the North and Clybourne Red Line, and I walk down north, and then I take a right. I go south on Ashland to go to the Den. It's like a nice little mile and a half walk. But I'll tell people that
Lovely.
I walk that, and they're just like, "You walk that? Why?" And I'm like, I don't know. It's a nice little stretch.
That's stellar. I did not know that. That's awesome. Oh, you know what? You mentioning that, I think it has to be I think it has to be Chicago Blue Line stop again. I can't help myself. It has to
Yeah.
be the ones that I either lived near before or live near now. I they're that Gangnam Market has built up so much since we moved away from it, and I'm devastated. I would have given them all my money if they had had all of the restaurants that they have now.
Yeah.
Um, and then there are, I mean, the Belmont stop is a warm place for me, and I went out of my way to try and write for it whenever it popped up. Um, the Belmont stop is wonderful, and I have memories from doing like a St. Patrick's Day bar crawl with my friends to um, post show eating at some horrible meal at Cheesy's at like 2 a.m. at the end of a run. So I have a lot of positive memories around the Belmont stop.
Yeah.
I would say, okay, first off, Belmont stop, great choice. Uh, I would also say, for myself, is the Morse Avenue stop.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
There's because there's a lot of stuff that I used to frequent in the area, like JBL Berto's Pizza, which is a fantastic one to
Yeah.
stop at, and then grab a slice there, walk to the beach, eat it, and then walk up a couple of blocks to the Lighthouse, which
Yeah.
is this dive bar in Rogers Park, and I would hang out with my buddy Nate, and we would just have a blast all evening, you know
Mhm.
and that was always a great time because like there were like storytelling shows and there's theaters around there. There's so many different things in that little like pocket. That neighborhood is just like nice and fantastic. But that one probably has some of the better memories for me than because everything else just is just like standard college nonsense that you get into with folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was so those were some great times.
Yeah. Yeah, that Glenwood, I think it's the Glenwood Arts District. It's like kind of that area
Hmm.
right there. It's a lovely little stretch. Um, you've kind of mentioned, do you have a favorite spot in the city?
Myself.
Yes.
Um, I used to have there used to be a place on California. Again, this is another entropy story. There used to be this like seldom visited tiki bar on California. It's not there anymore. But that used to be like my go-to place to write in bars. I would drive out there and then park myself on at the bar and write. And like I that used to be my first date location. That was like my go-to place because it's nice enough to feel classy but it's divey enough to feel chill.
Yeah.
Um, and then it was just a great spot, especially because it's right by the highway. So if you overdo it, you can just drag race off the exit and then just shoot yourself right back to the suburbs. Um, because everybody knows if you drive above a certain speed, they can't pull you over for drunk driving because you're going too fast.
Ingenious.
The more you know.
But yeah, that was California. If I had to pick nowadays, um, it's still Rogers Park. It's still sort of the Rogers Park area because I've had so much fun out in that area. Every time I go there is a little trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
At least the memories I want to revisit because there's other places I could get the same experience and I'd be like, that's where that guy deserved what he got.
Yeah. And Jared, you kind of expounded a little bit the Belmont area, but any other like neighborhoods, neck of the woods?
Oh yeah. I mean, the first 3 or 4 shows. How many was it? Yeah, the first 4 shows that No Dogs in the Kitchen put on were all at City Lit Theater in Edgewater. And to be so truthful with you, there aren't a ton of storefronts near City Lit where you can like grab food but there's a cool bar or two, and I have
Yeah.
a lot of positive memories over in the Edgewater area. Plus, Edgewater Candles, super sick.
It's so great to walk by.
It's great. Yes. It's lovely. Hey, I have so number one go-to spot in Edgewater, that is that Subway. I tell you what.
Oh my gosh, the things that Subway's seen.
Truly.
Oh my gosh. Kind of speaking of entropy, to your point, Jay, I remember there used to be like a Chase Bank down there and like a 7-Eleven. And
Hmm.
I was doing a show at City Lit back in 2022, and that 7-Eleven was still there. And I still it just still blows my mind that it's no longer there. Such a foolproof. I mean, 7-Eleven.
Hey, all that stuff, the city changes in ways that doesn't feel good. But at the same time, like when you really dig into a location that has a lot of personal memories, sometimes you start to realize maybe it's good it's gone. And my best example of that is the Taco Bell in Wrigleyville that's like
That
right in sight of the stadium.
the one they were
Because
always trying to save.
yeah, but the thing is, if you knew anything about that location, people used to have like Fight Club meetings in the parking lot, and they used to have, I mean, one of the headline stories was the romantic triangle between one of the, for lack of a better terms, line cooks at Taco Bell and the manager and a young lady working there that ended in a knife fight. Because that's
Oh,
how you make a woman decide between the two of you. You kill the other one and leave her with no choice.
oh my gosh. On that note, what I that just gave me an idea for a thing that I really want to exist in the world. But I digress. What was the last thing that you read or watched?
Ooh. I saw Obsession recently. That was a great movie. Had a great time. Or are you talking about plays?
Either or, just the last thing.
Very upsetting movie. Had a great time watching it. Deeply, deeply upsetting. Deeply troubling.
Yeah,
Um, and then theater stuff, I was able to catch Short Leap's Good Day, which was a
yeah,
really great show and really funny, laugh out loud funny, and then Gut Punch is
yeah,
really a well written script and really well performed.
yeah, yeah. Very, very good work. How about yourself, Jay?
As far as scene stuff, I recently got to see The Samurai and the Prisoner, which is a Japanese movie that's got a limited release right now. Um, that was very fascinating. It's a murder mystery, but it's more about how people behave and like the demands of society and so forth. That was really intriguing as far as films. I don't think it's for everybody, but I think that theater folks would probably get something out of it because it's a very dialogue driven, not action driven murder mystery. Because it's a lot of conversations, and it's the kind of film that trusts the audience to actually be intelligent because they does not hold your hand throughout the entire presentation. Um, I meant I meant to see some more theater, like proper theater this year, but every time I think about getting a ticket, I
Oh,
always run into the adult financial responsibilities. So it's
yeah,
like, do I get a ticket to go see Saw the musical, or do I get my car fixed? Because then I wouldn't even be able to get to Saw the musical. So,
yeah,
so there's that. Although I am currently looking into, I just discovered that there is out in the burbs, and not to seem like just a suburban driven person, I stumbled on this by accident, doing research for something else. There is an all puppet opera show that takes place out in, where is this take place? It's called Opera in Focus, if anybody wants to look into it. Opera in Focus, and it's out in I believe Rolling Meadows, if I remember correctly. But it is just seems so fantastically weird, and I'm gonna have to schedule, no matter what's going on, I'm gonna save the money and go check that out.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
so,
awesome.
and then other than that, I just when it comes to light entertainment, I'm reading the most gloriously unhinged uh, Shark Attack book
Oh
from
my,
from the 80s, which I think should tell you everything that you need to know about it.
yeah.
It is definitely a Jaws knockoff, but there are portions of it that are just like comically, they are so politically incorrect that it borders on comical. And the guy who wrote it was not writing it ironically. It's just like, wow, you really thought that this was a good idea. You know, if you've ever encountered that meme where people write stuff where it's like she boobed boobily into the room, you know, like it's that level of like male driven and
Yeah.
just like unnecessarily racist writing that would have like would have been fine in the 70s and 80s, but is like just absurdly offensive. And you're just like, the shark portions are really great, and then we have to get back to this racist sexist cop for some reason.
Oh my Lord.
And
What?
I just find it like ironically hilarious in a weird way. But it's like the shark portions are fantastic. In that regard, it's almost better than Jaws.
Oh
But
my.
you have to be the kind of person who can like laugh at the completely out of date, offensive presentation of others.
Yeah, it's got some bite to it.
Mm, mm.
Or
I see what you did there. I see what you. Well
totally
done.
unintentional, I swear. Um, on that note, because you were kind of mentioning some research there, Jay, what was the last script or piece of text that you were working on?
I was working on some solar punk short stories for a couple of anthologies that accepted my pitches. I don't know if they're going to buy the stories, but they gave me an opportunity. I was invited because they published me before, so they wrote to me and said, "Hey, would you like to take first crack at this before we open up the submission period?" So I was doing some research on different kinds of innovations in science for uh, better environmental possibilities in the future, and just trying to come up with like sci-fi concepts that would fit into a story, and ended up researching a lot of like really weird stuff that I got in there. Like I found out about fog basking, which is this thing that certain specifically beetles in the desert beetles are able to do. They sit in this weird sort of almost yoga pose during the dawn, and they collect dew on their bodies and then drink the dew off themselves. Um, and
Oh,
it's just it's a really weird thing. And then I was just like, what if we were able to build machines that did that? So it was just something. It was like one little thing, but it was fascinating, really studying some of the stuff that people are trying to do to come up with more environmentally friendly and effective ways of making life sustainable and less harmful to the world.
yeah. Ugh, so we can continue entropy.
Yeah, well, it's a natural process.
Yeah. How about yourself, Jared?
Writing, I actually the biggest writing project I'm working on right now is through my work. I am, for anybody listening who does not know me the way that Dakota knows me, I am a puzzle maker. That's my day job, and it's a ton of fun. And I all of my coworkers are nerds, and I'm a nerd, and it's a great time. And I can't say much just yet, but I can say that I'm working on a puzzle book for my company.
Oh,
Very exciting. More updates and info to come. Can't say what it's about, but I can say that there are puzzles involved and there is a narrative component involved. So it's been a real joy to work on it, and I will be able to say more in the future.
Heck yeah. That's like when they go the actors go on the on the late night show and they don't reveal any of the plot, but they plug the movie.
Yeah, they can feel the laser eyes of legal staring them at them through the screen.
Oh my lord. And our final microbite question before we wrap it up here. What is your kind of summer activity? What's the thing you do once Chicago summer starts?
Oh, summer activity. Um, I I've been taking as many walks as I can. I work from home, so a lot of my time is indoors. Um, Dude, I went to my first. Well, I went as a kid, but I went as an adult for the first time to a Cubs Cards game, which was a ton of fun as a St. Louisan.
Oh yeah.
Brought me great joy. Sorry, Chicagoans. I am a Cardinals fan, but that was a ton of fun. And I don't know, you got to swim in the lake. That's what I say. At
At least once. It's so cold.
least once. That's the key summer activity. It is very cold, but it's worth it.
Truly. And to close us out, Jay.
Yeah, I gotta agree. You gotta go for walks, especially in a city that gets sub-zero in the winter. You gotta get as much time outdoors as possible. And it is a different city when you're walking around it than it is in winter. Sometimes it can feel like a ghost town. It really feels like a lived-in place during the summer and the spring and the fall and all that. And so I pretty much do the same thing. Try to get around on foot as much as possible, especially because you know you're going to be sitting on the couch all winter packing on the pounds. So you might as well get as active as you can. And then the other thing is just trying to come up with new innovative ways to stay cool because there's all kinds of crazy heat these summers. And especially the apartment I got never really seems to get below 79. So I'm always trying to figure out new ways to. Well, I'm on the top floor, so all the heat rises. So I'm always getting cooked in this oven. So I'm always trying to figure out. So I'm like, is today the day for a milkshake, or is today the day for a pile of ice on the couch nap?
These are the
It's good that you
questions.
change it up, though.
Well, you got to. Variety is the spice of life.
It really is. Oh gosh. Well, thank you both for playing that fun little game. Again, that's our micro bites. And it's always it's fascinating to see how different people come to the different questions. So, um, thank you for indulging me on that. And that brings us pretty much to the end here. I just again want to say thank you both for sharing a little bit of your evening to record this and get it out there. Sharing a little bit about yourselves and your processes. And I'm sure we will have you back at some point in the future, and of course on the L as well. What to just kind of send us on our way? Where can people see more of your work and just more of your stuff? If you want to start us off, Jay.
You can find pretty much everything that I'm working on in some capacity on honestyisnotcontagious.com. I try to be as up to date with it as possible. The Facebook page for it definitely has everything in a more timely fashion. But you can find all the different stuff that I'm working on, whether or not I'm going to be in a live show doing nonfiction, whether I've just gotten something published, which is usually fiction, or the current release of my music project Beerfinger, which is available on Spotify and Bandcamp and a lot of the other streaming sites. Just released a new album, and I'm pretty happy with it. And other than that, yeah, thanks for having me.
Heck yeah. How about yourself, Jared?
I don't have a lot that I'm working on currently at the moment. I'm taking a nice break, so I'll just take the opportunity to say not subscribe. Follow No Dogs on Instagram. Follow No Dogs on TikTok. Check us
You all
out. We've got an exciting new season that will be announced very soon. And the 2027 season has a couple of plays that I am over the moon about. So can't say anything yet, but check out No Dogs. Don't worry about me.
Well, and you guys just closed Importance of Being Earnest, right?
We did. It was a wonderful show. We got a really great response. We got larger crowds than we've gotten for previous shows and more attention from critics. And yeah, we're just growing. We're a new company and we're growing. So yeah, it was a really wonderful process. And I'm very much looking forward to the 2027 season.
Heck yeah. Man, we got to get you in the hole at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
We keep talking about it and then I keep being busy. So
Yeah.
we'll chat.
Yeah. Well, thank you both. Again, everyone, feel free to check them out. We'll also be sure to have links in the description here for you to check that stuff out as well. Thank you both again for riding the L with us here on the green and all the previous ones as well. And we're stoked for to have you for future ones as well. And look forward to seeing more of your work out there. And to everyone joining us here as we continue to explore the infinite space of